What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on this situation that's going on with Ryan Clark and RG Robert Griffin III, right? But first, I want to talk about Caitlin Clark and the situation I had with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and just give my little my take on the situation with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they played this past weekend, Indiana Fever, Chicago Skies. Chicago Sky got blown out by the Indiana Fever. And so right towards the end of the game, Caitlin Clark fouled Angel Reese, and Angel Reese she took exception to the foul. She thought it was a hard foul. Most people don't think it was a hard foul or it was like anything flagrant. To be honest, I don't. I just thought that Caitlin Clark, number one, she's smaller than Angel Reese. And so when she fouled her, she probably didn't want her to be able to like follow through and finish. So that I didn't think it was a flagrant foul or anything like that. I just thought it was just in my opinion, just was a common foul. But anyway, Angel Reese took exception to it, and then a big deal was made out of it. Caitlin Clark was kind of walking away after she fouled her, and then Aaliyah Boston stepped in and kind of prevented Angel Reese from going after Caitlin Clark. And so anytime anything happened between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, it's a bit, it gets blown out of proportion or gets, it's a big deal, especially in the media. But I do think that in that situation, I think that Caitlin Clark, or not Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese, it was a hard foul, and she just should have got up and just went to the free throw line, and and just made her shots, and that was it. Just kind of don't lose your composure under that situation. They was getting blown out anyway, so I didn't see a need to really, to make it anything more than probably what it was. It was just a hard foul. She ain't like it. I guess you can get up and say a few words on your way to the free throw line, but I mean, she handled it the way she handled it. That was her prerogative. And so anyway, RG3, Robert Griffin III, goes on to his podcast, and he proceeds to say that Caitlin Clark Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, and he can tell just by her actions, which I don't know how he can tell by her actions. And see, that's what I mean by like with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Like, you gotta handle these situations. You gotta be, you have to have like poise when you handle these kind of situations, because there are people on both sides of this argument who just feed off of the negativity, and so you got to be careful how you handle these situations. I think like the way Magic and Bird handled the situation back in the day when the Lakers and the Celtics was playing against each other, you had two different fan bases that were, like there were people out of control on both sides of the fan base, right? Lakers fan base, some of those guys some of those people were out of control. The Celtics fan base, some of those people were out of control. But as players on the court, you got to be careful the way you can't allow that narrative to seep into your thinking or your mindset. You have to handle those situations with poise, right? And so that I hope that both of these young ladies, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, handle the situation with poise. And just keep it basketball. If whoever don't like each other, it's not really important, long as they don't, long as they don't say it, or I think they should keep it under the hat. If Angel Reese don't like Caitlin Clark, it don't do her any good for the public to know. And so she can't give any indication that she don't like her. Just like Magic and Bird, they always respected each other, right? And so they kept it basketball, like I said. But Michael Jordan and who is it? Isaiah Thomas, they not really, I'm sure they probably had some things to say about each other that the media wasn't privy to. And so when it comes to those two, Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas, they are, like people just have to guess and really surmise, because those two really never said anything about the situation. Same thing with Bill Laimbeer and Larry Bird. Larry Bird, people say that Larry Bird really is not a big fan of Bill Laimbeer, really don't like Bill Laimbeer. But you would never know it, because those two never really addressed the situation. And that's how you have to handle it, because the media is looking for something to blow out of proportion. And Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark don't want to do anything that's going to mess their image up and affect their image and their brand going beyond basketball. So I think that's important. So, so both of them just have to be careful the way they manage the situation. But with that being said, I want to listen to what Ryan Clark said about what's the guy, RG3, and then I want to respond to what Ryan Clark said about RG3. Let me see.
Freddie T, man, another exciting year. The WNBA started, and even with the Liberty being the champion and Asia Wilson being the MVP, all the talk is about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Yeah, it started off with a bang, man. And I think in any business, you need an amazing storyline. And I believe we have one. Last year, it was the rookies. It was Caitlin. It was Angel Reese. This year, the start of this season, we're back at it, right? Yeah. And if I didn't know any better, I would have thought they were trying to promo a fight, right? Because it was just a simple take foul. It was a foul. It was harmless. And I think Angel just got up in frustration at the point that they were down by so much right there in the third quarter. And she got up and she wanted to get a little aggressive. But I believe at the end of the day, we need that in the WNBA. I think that'll draw fans in. But yeah, Angel, you got to take that one, baby. Like, it wasn't even necessary. I think it was a little bit too dramatic. I believe Caitlin handled it like a pro in her press conference. But it's good to see the aggression, the passion from Angel. But yeah, man, welcome to the WNBA. It's back.
I mean, I love the fact that the WNBA has this exciting rivalry. And we've talked about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese for so long. I hate the fact that they're always pinned against one another. RG3 called what Angel Reese did hate. He said you could see the hate on her face for Caitlin Clark. I'm not really sure when we moved in to being able to read the expressions of a person and know their intent, know their character, know their perspective. But he does understand hate, because I think he also understands the hate of self. When you look at the play, which is all we can speak to as professionals, all we can speak to as analysts, Angel Reese pushed one of her teammates. Caitlin Clark had a hard foul, which is part of basketball. I feel like it was assessed correctly. And Angel Reese's reaction is the sort of reaction you get in a situation when you feel like you took an intentionally hard foul. That's competitiveness. That's rivalry. That's not hate. And so now, though, when RG3 jumps on to the hate train or to the angry train, and now follows along with what we saw from Keith Olbermann, what we saw from Dave Portnoy, as they poured on to Angel Reese to make her the villain in Caitlin Clark's heroic or hero story.
Right.
The one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what Black women have to endure in this country, about what young Black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom. Now, when you look at it, I think Asia Wilson is the face of the league. Asia Wilson is the best player in the league. Caitlin Clark is the most important player in the WNBA. And a ton of her fandom has come along with some racial bias or some racial pieces to why people love her so much. And so now, if you're RG3, when is the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to white women. You haven't had opportunities to have those conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what Black women deal with, what they're seeing when they think of a young Angel Reese. And the whole time that he's mimicking Angel Reese and bobbing his head and moving his neck while he's doing this whole piece, his wife is in the back amening and clapping. And so to me, it's just another situation that now this young lady has to deal with. When I worked with RG3, he would make all of these sort of corny jokes about milk and how much he loved it and how important it was. And he always points out on social media the color of his wife's skin, as if the color of her skin is what makes her special, as if the color of her skin is what makes her a good wife. I've met the lady, I've had a conversation with her. Right. I think she's more than that. But it also leads to what Black women deal with a lot from Black men who have chose to date or marry outside of their race. They always feel like they have to go the extra mile to prop up the woman that they're married or the woman that they're with over Black women by denigrating Black women. I feel like we should have an opportunity to move past that and understand that Angel Reese can be great in her own right, as Caitlin Clark is as well. Caitlin Clark is a likable and lovable superstar. She pays homage to the stars of the past. She pays homage to the Black women that have come before her. And now she is carrying the mantle forward. So there's no need to pin those two against each other and paint them based on stereotypical tropes. And I think this is what I like RG3 to know, that no matter how much he continues to echo the microaggressions of racists, he'll be no less Black than me.
All right. So with that being said, I want to speak on that. First of all, I just think that, like I said earlier in the video, I think that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, like this is the type of discussion that they don't want to be a part of this. They don't want to get caught up in this, like this type of RG3 and Ryan Clark type back and forth, because they really need to be focusing on, like I said, their brand and what they do on the basketball court in order to continue to grow the sport of the WNBA. I didn't really agree with Ryan. I mean, what's the guy name? RG3, when he said that she hate, like hate is a strong word. And I don't know. I just don't think that, he should have said the hate. I just thought the whole thing with RG3 was a bad look. And also I just think that, like I said, when the back and forth with this type of situation don't really benefit Caitlin Clark. It don't benefit Angel Reese. So I would advise them to not even like really feed into it. I know that like some things that Caitlin Clark's fan base has said and done, she's kind of like, said that she's not, she don't support it. And I think that Angel Reese should do the same thing. I think Angel Reese, some of the things, a lot of things her fan base said and done, she probably don't support everything they do either. So they can't lean into that. They just need to focus on growing the WNBA. But RG3 and Ryan Clark, I mean, it is what it is. They feel the way they feel. But I don't know who is, as far as like Caitlin, Angel Reese, I do think that like the foul that Caitlin Clark gave her, I don't think it was it probably was a hard foul, but I don't think it was nothing like, it wasn't as bad as like the foul she took from the young lady last year, Alyssa Thomas, right? And even when we spoke about it on my podcast over the weekend, I brought up the fact that when it really do depend on who foul you, like your reaction. Because let me see, when Big Ben Wallace fouled or had a disagreement with Meta World Peace, and Meta World Peace is known for being a guy that's not, that don't mind mixing it up with people. But Big Ben Wallace, that's just a whole different story. You talk about a dude that's 6'9", and Meta World Peace is a little bit he's not as big as him, So I'm sorry. Let me cut this phone off. So look, Meta World Peace knew he didn't want no parts of Big Ben Wallace. So that's when, when Indiana was playing Detroit, that was the Malice at the Palace. That's when that big fight had broke out. So it makes a difference who foul you, like your reaction to it. And so, but I just want Angel Reese to just to be aware of people are going to try to play into certain stereotypes, especially the angry black woman, that type of stereotype. So she gotta be she just has to show more poise in those type of situations. And then Caitlin Clark, there has been some situations with Caitlin Clark, she showed poise, and that's what you need to do. She took a hard foul last year from the young lady named Kennedy. What's her name? I forgot. I know her last name is Kennedy. But they need, so I want to see Angel Reese operate the same way, because so many people are going to every little thing she do is just going to be exaggerated, and so you can't have like your opponent just playing you out of character like that, because it just it's not going to look good, it's going to make you look like you're out of control, and it's going to make you look like you're a whiner and a crybaby and stuff like that. And so yeah, she had to show more poise, and just continue to get better. I know, I see a lot of video and stuff of both of these young ladies just working on their game during the off season. So that's what they need to do. They need to continue to work on their games, play hard on the court, and just show more poise when it comes to these situations. And like I said, just look at how Magic and Bird handled this situation with those two different fan bases when they was going through it. You can't really control the fan bases, and you really, you don't want to give people like RG3 or Ryan Clark any type of, anything to really write about. If they're gonna write anyway, but have them just really just guessing and just don't give them anything. So that's my take on it. I think the WNBA need to focus, just really focus on continue to grow, and not really the players don't get caught up in this back and forth, hate situation. But like I said, that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. And with that being said, I will check you all out on the next video. Peace.